I call the meeting of City University Heights, Iowa City Council meeting to order this July 12th, 2022. And the meeting is being conducted electronically. All 5 council are present. First order of business, approval of minutes. Let's do June 14th first. Are there any additions or corrections to the June 14th minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. There was a special meeting on June 28th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes for June 28th are approved by unanimous consent. Comments from the public. Would anyone like to speak to the council tonight?
Hey, Nick Herbal, 1250 Melrose Ave.
Hi, Nick.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Welcome.
Thank you. Full house tonight. Yeah, thanks for giving me a minute. I just want to run through a few things quickly. First, I was hoping that council, and you may have done this, I obviously am not able to attend all the meetings, so I may be asking questions that you guys have gone over multiple times during meetings. But I had reached out to the city a while back about just kind of the plans for the community space and when members of the public could use that, and I didn't hear back. So I was kind of hoping to hear what you guys had decided, or if maybe it's just not, maybe there's not a decision on that yet. Also, I thought this is something I had kind of talked with Steve a little bit about, but there's the Ordinance 79, there's the restrictions on garages. One thing I've kind of heard from people about in town is the livable space above garages. And I'm not bringing this up as necessarily having a strong opinion one way or the other. But currently my understanding is livable space is not allowed above garages. We have a lot of smaller houses in town. And I just get a sense that when we're losing a lot of families still, you know, it's always kind of sad when you hear families moving out of town because they can't find a big enough house, or they want to live in town, but they just can't find a big enough house for a growing family. And so I thought livable space above garages might be a solution to that, or at least a partial solution. I get it though, there could be downsides. It could lead to a bunch of multifamily like living situations, or, you know, like kind of duplex sorts of situations, which I know is not, or I shouldn't say no, but I assume is not desired. So just having heard that there's some people in town interested in that, I just thought I would throw that to council for discussion if council wanted to discuss that at some point, just to get ahead of it if it is something that would be desirable. It was kind of, I know in speaking with Steve and emailing a little bit about this 6 Lemur Court garage, you know, plan that's in the works, that I had a chance to look more at that ordinance. And that's where I was kind of thinking about that, and just, you know, in relation to people who I've heard, you know, would I think that was a little bit desirable to be able to, you know, put more stuff, or even the living space, you know, above the garage. I was also, and Steve, I don't know, I could follow up with you. I know we were talking about that 6 Lemur Court and kind of where that's going. I don't know if that's an issue for council at this point, or where we're at on that, but I would be kind of curious to know if there is a discussion. Again, I might have missed it in relation to that garage in 6 Lemur Court. And then I was also just tuning on because Katie wasn't able to watch the meeting tonight. And so she was, I think, going to check in on the American Rescue Plan Act funding and just kind of the status of that. I think she may have reached out to the mayor, or a council member or two, or something on that. So that's why I was tuning in part. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Well, we can start with the American Rescue Act that the subcommittee is Stephanie and Bobby, along with Steve and Mike and myself. And we met with ECOG. You remember Karen Kurt, the executive director of ECOG. We met with them, and they're working at a plan on that and helping to run the program for us. And so we're waiting to hear back on that. And because it's summer and everything, it makes it a little more difficult, but we should hear from them later this month, I think. And we also talked about at the June 28th meeting, meeting in person and when to open up the community center. And it was deferred a little bit further down, and maybe we should discuss it again in August or September of opening it. But I also think we need to discuss, as I was talking to Mike earlier, about what do we do? Our filming is not good and it's expensive and we don't have the right equipment. So we need to be looking at that too. So there wasn't it was kind of like a split, like let's open, let's not. I can go either way. But for right now, we're not opening it, but we're looking towards opening it depending on the numbers and everything coming up, maybe September, October, I don't know. But we can bring that up again. And you can listen to that, was at the June 28th meeting. And then you asked about the garages, and Steve and I talked about that, bringing something to the council and maybe even the zoning commission in the future, and Tim is, of course, head of that committee, and re-looking at that in the near future of what the city wants to do with that. And so getting public input like what you're giving on that is important to this committee and, to the council. And so does that kind of summarize some of it for you a little bit? But we can talk some more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I did see in the agenda that it was discussed, the meetings thing, and I totally understand with the equipment. I remember how that was.
Yes, I knew you would.
Yeah, and then how Zoom was just amazing to do what we were trying to do with the equipment, and then from the comfort of your own home. So,
right.
And I think don't you have computers set up at City Hall if people want to come in there to use them? Or I'm sure there's ways for people to do that. So, yeah, I totally get that. Thank you.
And but anyway, thank you, Nick, for coming, and please stay and listen to some more. Is anybody else from the public would like to speak tonight?
We don't have anyone else here,
okay.
and we didn't have anyone else request to attend the meeting. So
thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go to the mayor's report, and I have consideration 2214, which was included in explanation and the resolutions in Steve Ballard's legal report, allocating a portion of the hotel motel tax revenue to be distributed and paid to the Iowa City Corvallis Conventions and Visitors Bureau. And so before we discuss, could I get a motion on the table for 2214?
A motion.
Motion by Bobby. Is there a second?
I'll second, Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Second by Lisa. Okay, discussion. Any questions for Steve, or any discussion council wants to talk about? I know we've talked about this at several meetings. Okay, I don't hear any discussion, so we'll go to a roll call vote, Mike.
John?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Swales?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Consideration of resolution 2226, appointing a representative to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So this appointment will be made by the city council. Would anyone like to make a suggestion for appointment?
I'll recommend somebody, Louise.
Yes, that's Who
I'm
was that?
hoping that I could recommend Bobby.
Okay,
I'm hoping that he's interested because he's our finance guy and kind of does the budgets and stuff. I think he's the best knowledgeable person for the job.
Bobby, are you interested in the appointment?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, is there any other recommendations or? So could I entertain a motion? So staff, did you want to make that into a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion to appoint Representative Bobby Scott to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Three of them.
Whoever.
Third, fourth, and fifth.
Okay, I think that says it all. So I'm going to give that to whoever Mike says was first.
I'm not sure. We'll say
Go with
two.
Lisa. Lisa, I think I heard you.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make it Moore.
That way he can be mad at you.
Motion by Gon and second by Moore.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, it's a resolution.
It is a resolution.
It's a roll call vote.
Moore,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Swales,
Aye.
Gon.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. I think that second was a whole case of 1, 2, 3, not it for being appointed the representative. But,
Thank you.
Take
And
one
these-
step back.
Yeah, these meetings are every third Thursday at 4 o'clock with the other representatives from the cities with hotels in Johnson County. And thank you, Bobby, for serving on that. We'll go to legal report. Steve, you wrote a report. Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Steve, did you have any comments?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the clerk report.
I'm sorry. I'm just letting Lori into the meeting. So,
Super.
not my written report pretty much summarizes things. The only thing I wanted to mention, and I know Bobby had asked about this earlier, and I know Brian Jensen had asked about it as our housing or our rental inspector. Just to let you all know, we do have 2 short-term rental units in town that are owned by LLCs. And because of legislation in the Iowa legislature in the past several years, there are some, I'll let Steve explain it better, but just say there are very few things that we as a city can do to regulate that further. So what we are doing right now is requiring that those people register with us, that we know that they are operating as a short-term rental. They do not need to have a rental permit. And that's kind of where it sits right now. Is that a decent summary, Steve?
Yeah, it is. The legislature's changes to pretty much eliminate city council's authority or ability to have any particular restrictions or regulations on short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs, was kind of the last in a series of legislative actions over the last 5-6 years, where the legislature just took away the cities, not just us, but us, the city's ability to restrict things like occupancy by familial status. I won't go through the whole history, but if you're interested in it, let me know and I'll either tell you or I'll send you some legal reports. But the last version of that was that the legislature in 2020 essentially said that cities can't place any restrictions or regulations on short-term rentals that don't also apply to owner-occupied home. So can't make them get a rental permit fee, can't make them have an inspection, don't require a permit of any sort. Really, you can't do really anything. What our ordinance, we reacted to that in 2020 and modified our rental housing ordinance to say that rental short-term rentals do have to register and give us some contact info, just from an emergency contact standpoint, more than anything. But that's all it requires. There's no fee, there's no permit, there's no inspection, there's no nothing. So
Steve, I had a question. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I had remembered that, basically in my mind, it was something like, you can't have a short-term rental or whatever, unless it's your primary residence and you live there 180 days out of the year. Was that one of the things that got axed as part of that 2020 revision?
I mean, the answer would be yes. I don't think we really had that specific sort of time frame, but other cities probably did. But the answer is yes. You can't require any. What our ordinance said was you couldn't. Somebody who wasn't an owner really couldn't live at a property, and it also said that rentals had to be at least 30 days consecutive. So that's how we sort of prohibited or regulated short-term rentals. But the answer to your question, Bobby, is yeah, anything like that was gone.
So no, they don't. We don't even need to issue. We can't. I guess they don't even need to apply for a rental permit.
They don't.
What's to prevent someone from just basically saying, yeah, this is a short-term rental, and just renting it out to the same tenant year-round and not having to get a rental permit?
Yeah, that's a good question. Short-term rental is defined by the Iowa code. I don't think that, I think we could enforce our rental ordinance if someone tried to make that, to try to do that. You know, like most things dealing with enforcement, we would need to have evidence. We need to know, we need to ask the housing inspector, maybe even UHPD to find, there's the same car parked there month after month after month. We'd have to build a case, but I think we could enforce our ordinance.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Any
said
other
there were two.
questions? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you said there were two properties, or can other people enter into that?
So
Yeah.
we have two that we know of, that have contacted us and registered through that. There actually may be others. Being a small town though, people do keep a pretty close eye on a lot of things, but
Tough to enforce.
yeah.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't give you the whole history, and I won't, but I do want to throw this in because most of you weren't at this meeting, but and Louise knows what I'm going to say, but some years back there was a fellow who lived in Bondurant, Iowa, and he won the lottery, and a pretty good sized one. And I don't know what all he did with his lottery winnings, but I think one of the things he did was he bought a home in University Heights. And he came to a council meeting once and was essentially talking about short-term rentals. And we pretty much said, you can't do that. And he was very nice until the very end of his conversation with the council, at which point he said, well, I'll just sue you then. Okay. And so he did not do that. Instead, he ran for the legislature. And he's now a member of the Iowa House of Representatives. And it's pretty difficult for me not to trace that individual history with that individual representative, given the timing from the appearance, the purchase of the home in University Heights, the appearance at the University Heights City Council meeting, the proclamation that he was going to sue us, his election to the legislature, bingo, a change in the law. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I connect the dots.
Strange. Weird. So which one of us is going to win the lottery and get that corrected?
Well, I won't because I never play, so it won't be me.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so anything else, Mike?
Only other thing I was going to mention, and the mayor had asked me about this, and when I mentioned that we will be sending out notification to current landlords on Friday, our rental permits run August 1st to July 30th. We will open up on Friday for the rental permit process, be due, by the end of August. We currently have 230 rental permits in University Heights. I had not mentioned that in my report, which is slightly under where we had been several years ago. And some of that is we have had houses that have gone back to single home, home ownership. We've had a few people who have not rented their house with COVID and things like that, but we're sitting pretty close to where we have been historically. So, but that's all I have.
Thank you so much. City Treasurer report, and Lori, I heard you came in to the meeting, and Lori sent around her report, and she has the warrants list, and Lori and I discussed this a little bit, and at the June 28th meeting, there were 4 warrants: Kelly Heating, Brandt Heating, Hawkeye Construction, and Shive Hattery, and she paid those on June 28th. Because of a bookkeeping thing, they're relisted in this month's warrant list, but I want to point out that the Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning repair of $8,000 that's listed, the Brandt Heating repair for $1,014 and $67, and the Hawkeye Construction snow removal for $18,707.50, and the Shive Hattery engineering payment of $8,434.58 are removed from this list that was sent around, because I don't want there be any confusion that these were paid twice. So anyway, are there any other warrants that need to be added to this list?
I just emailed a new list a minute ago, or 15 minutes ago, that included a CenturyLink bill for $115.15.
Okay, thank you, Lori. And so with that addition of the CenturyLink bill, is there any objection to paying these bills this month? Hearing none, the bills will be paid by unanimous consent. Okay. Any other questions for Lori? I think we're good. We're all good, Lori, right? We're good.
I think so.
Thank you. And then we'll go on to community protection. Now, did Troy end up joining us? Oh, hi, Troy. Nice to see you.
The lack of the beard, you don't recognize me.
Yeah, there you go. Well, do you and Steph want to go?
Sure.
You sent out a report. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just touch on a couple items, hopefully very quickly. As far as staffing, we are fully staffed. We've struggled with some coverage recently because of COVID. We currently have an officer out with COVID right now, and he has been out for 2 weeks. Looking ahead to football, when you are back in town, there are several things that I'd like to chat with you about, Mayor. One of them, I need your signature on a new memorandum of understanding with the University of Iowa. It is the same MOU as last year, just with some updated numbers to reflect really our inflationary costs. I'd like to point out that kind of along those same lines, during the last fiscal year, the police department billed other entities, primarily the University of Iowa, but collected just under $48,000 for shared services, which is, again, something that has been new to us in the last 3 years. Skipping down to letter D, Kevin Sanders, the president of the Iowa City NAACP, he has been tasked with organizing this year's Justice Summit. This is an event sponsored by the NAACP. It's always been held in the Des Moines area before. I have attended and presented. He contacted me and we are exploring the possibility of, he would like to have it held at the Courtyard by Marriott. So I'm not sure that that'll happen, but we are trying to make it happen, and that would be this fall. Skipping down to letter F, the farmers market. The mayor brought this up just prior to the meeting. August 2nd, which is a Tuesday, I believe, is also National Night Out, depending on which community. Locally, events begin at 6 or 6:30 and go until 8. The mayor mentioned that in the past, perhaps there'd been a conflict with farmers market. I think that we can work through that, but I did not mention National Night Out as being August 2nd this year. So I would like to coordinate an event with the other agencies, and we'll have something over at the water park. The drone, which is mentioned under training, the University Heights Police Department taps into a lot of resources that are community-wide and other agencies, and we aren't able to contribute a lot. I'm glad that we contribute officers to the football games. The drone team, I was approached by Dave Wilson, the EMA director, and asked if that was something that we would be willing to be a housing agency for. We talked through what that entailed, and I agreed to do that. We have a top-of-the-line drone. The Johnson County Emergency Management Agency paid for it and the accessories. It's just over $7,000. Sergeant Tucker, Officer Cox, and I went through the training necessary to operate under the EMA's certification of authorization from the FAA. So we are now able to operate that drone. I can only speak for myself. I want to get lots of training hours in on it. That could include, and I know that Councilor Moore has talked about some photographs from the community. That is something that would qualify. I mean, we can use the drone for activities such as that. Training flights require at least 48 hours notice to airmen. But anyway, that is a resource that's available not just to law enforcement and fire agencies, but to our community. It's housed in our community, and we are certified as pilots for that particular resource. So I think that's pretty exciting. I know the officers are excited about it. My intent is that as future trainings are offered, we'll train up as many of the officers as possible so that, you know, whether it's a lost child, community photography, or a fire, anything like that, we're able to kind of pay back the other agencies for us relying on them for so many other resources. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Otherwise,
Any questions? Stephanie, did you want to add anything?
Nope, not at this time. Thanks.
Okay, very good. I'm really excited about having this drone. I was always supportive of it as a representative to the emergency management. And it was a little controversial, but I know it saves lives. I know it can, you know, and being part of the whole greater community is important to me. And thanks for getting that done, Chief. That's wonderful. Let's see, we have the engineer report and committee report, and Josiah submitted that, and he's not here tonight. But did you have anything to add to that, Doug?
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't know of any issues around the community. I know we had a manhole area around on, was it Ridgeview, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a citizen had pointed out that looks like it's needing some repair, and I contacted Josiah, and it was one of the upcoming repairs that we knew were coming. So I think we're on top of that. I don't know if anybody's having any complaints of branches sticking out in the way of sidewalks or anything. I haven't come across any on my travels around on my motorcycle, but if anybody knows of any, I'd be glad to address those as needed.
Okay, thank you very much, Doug. We'll go on to finance, and Bobby, we have consideration of resolution 2224, which is the loan agreement for the general obligation bond. This one covers the $825,000 obligation bond 22A and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Bobby, would you like to motion?
Yeah, I can motion. Just generally speaking, this one, it represents the tax-free portion of the bonding that we did. The larger one, I mean, I think everyone knows this. We talked about it. Rates were I was honestly surprised how low the rates were. So that's all good. But yeah, no, I can make a motion to adopt resolution 2224.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Steph, I think that was. Any further discussion, questions?
Rate's gonna go up, do you foresee, Bobby?
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. I mean, it's hard to predict the future, but that's definitely what everyone thinks and what the environment looks like.
That's kind of my gut instinct as well, so probably a good time to jump on the bandwagon now before it gets away.
Absolutely. That's what I think.
Okay, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Swales,
Aye.
Gahn,
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Bobby, you want to talk about resolution 2225?
Same story, smaller portion, taxable portion of the bond. But even with this one, I was thinking the taxable rates were going to be much higher than they were. But yeah, same story, still a fantastic rate. And I mean, that's it. I recommend that we do it. I'm happy to motion.
Okay, so you're making a motion for resolution
2225, yep.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tim. Okay, discussion. Roll call vote.
Scott,
Aye.
Swales,
Aye.
Gahn,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll go on to building, zoning, and sanitation. And Tim, you want to talk about the increased compensation for Brian?
Yeah, this is the increase that Brian had requested back in November, December when we met with both he and Terry. Terry did not request an increase, but he was in full support of Brian getting an increase. He's gotten several additional credentials and training that increase his value. So the only reason it wasn't on the last agenda was I didn't know to put it on there. So we're catching up with it. It was budgeted for, so.
Well, in fairness, Tim, you reminded me, but I forgot to add it.
That was after the fact, though.
Thank you, Tim. So are you making it a motion?
Yes, I would motion that we increase his salary as noted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bobby. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Then we go on. Tim asked to put this as a discussion item of creating more identity for the city. Tim, would you like to start discussion?
Yeah, so we started a study at the request of the downtown district, Nancy Bird for Iowa City. And the idea behind that is more broad reaching than just downtown Iowa City, but to engage all the surrounding communities and have them each kind of establish their own identity and somehow maximize those identities. So as a collective, we each, have our own little personality, more so. And University Heights especially is, you drive through it, it's surrounded by Iowa City. You wouldn't necessarily know you're passing through it. So it seems like there could be more of a potential to do something to identify it than, simply a singular gateway coming in from Melrose. That it could be something playful, unique. We'd have to decide what that identity wants to be, but there could be, I don't know, am I allowed to share a visual?
Sure.
Oh, I think that'd be
Of course.
helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
All
let
right.
me
Let me see if I can do it.
let me get to advanced sharing options and
Okay.
change that first. Now you should be able to, Tim.
Okay. So can you see this?
Yes. Map of town.
Yes, this is a map of town. And you see Melrose coming across here. If you can see my cursor, Sunset, and obviously a point of marking could be this northwest corner of town, and down here in the lower left, you see the traditional kind of sign, but there could be something much more unique and with progressive, I guess, but it would want to be the identity that the council and the city wants it to be, but it doesn't have to be the standard, is I guess what I'm trying to get across with these examples. But then, so you see the potentials for markers marked in circles, I guess, around the city on the map, but then also, along the corridor of Melrose, wherever streets turn off of it, or along the corridor of Sunset, wherever streets turn off of it. And as you enter University Heights, there could be, a relatively cost-effective way to add some identity, like, just doing some creative crosswalks or something that could also just illustrate that you're here. And those are just this afternoon, realizing when I saw the agenda that Louise had put this on there, that threw something together, but it would want more study, but those just give you some examples of how we could establish some identity for people passing through this, little city. So any thoughts about that?
I mean, I love the idea, frankly. I'd like just any way to identify it. I think to make it stand out, just whatever is unique about it. I don't know if that's a little challenging to, but I love where you're going with it. I mean, I love all that. And so.
Yeah, the street markings, there's something that could just kind of fade away unless everybody embraces it, and then you want to repaint them and whatnot, but it's not something that you have to worry about it getting defaced or anything like that. So that seems like a relatively simple solution.
I love it too. And I think this Melrose Avenue streetscape project coming up, and Josiah making plans for us, the council could direct him on some of these ideas, of incorporating some of them with that project too.
Yeah, I love that. We might as well do two birds with one stone if we can make it happen.
I would think that we could find some University of Iowa art students or street artists, kind of like on the side of the parking ramp on Burlington there, something along the lines of that, maybe that kind of shows a little cultural diversity or connection with the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics, or maybe Herky the Hawkeye, or I mean, it is kind of a gateway to that. I mean, I don't know if we need to advertise University of Iowa, but I'm just trying to think of a theme that would kind of fit with us being proximity wise to a big entity like the hospital and or the stadium. I don't know if we need to do that, but it just, when you think of one, you kind of think of the other. I mean, whether by design or not, we are a lot close to it.
Yeah, whether we go with a theme, so to speak, if you will, or we just kind of, I mean, the word that comes to mind is rebranding. You know, like I feel like the OUP building was a step in the right direction, and I mean, I like the aesthetics of it. I don't know what everyone else feels like, but for me, when I moved to town, you know, that was a pretty cool landmark, I guess, if you will, in terms of, it seemed like it gave the city a little bit of a forward-thinking, you know, feel, and so I like that.
And cost effective probably, you know, because someday when the OUP came in, and I was thinking in the future of when, you know, it was a church and it was no tax base. And I was thinking about it and thought maybe someday with the tax base coming in, we could do new street lighting that when you come in the city. I had a, you know, vision of you'd come in and you'd see this beautiful street lighting. And of course me, I would have flower baskets too. And we'd have this coming in and it'd be like, look around and say, oh, look, these streets are nice. They're paved nice. Where are we?
Right.
And then, you know, who'd ever think we get the Swisher track, and then the Swisher track, and then someday that's going to be a beautiful, beautiful trails, park, something like that. And it'll be like, I want to live here, you know, you know, and I think this is a start, but it's a reasonable start. I didn't even think of this idea. Thank you, Tim. Something like that. Yeah.
And, you know, that was just, there's probably other ideas, and it could be a phased approach too, to eventually get to the light poles with the flower pots.
Exactly. Or something like that.
Well, I like it. I guess, is there an action item with this one? Or is it just generally getting the council's, like, you know, yes, move forward kind of a thing, Louise or Tim?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice. I was talking to a couple counselors about this. I was talking to Lisa and to staff a little bit about this. And do you have some ideas? And you know, and we all pointed out that having the new website has really boosted the city a lot. And I was wondering if maybe Lisa would want to serve with Tim to kind of go over some ideas, you know, like a subcommittee, and look into some of these things and bring them back for the council.
What do you think, Tim?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't like next month, or it's like, you know,
Right.
period of time, and looking at researching and Googling things. And yeah, this is a nice start though. And does council think that's a good idea too?
You
To
bet.
let them
I like it.
start?
Sure, if it's cheap.
Well, if it's not cheap, if it's not cheap, it might be worth it. So that's something we get to decide together, I guess.
And then, you know, as Bobby builds this relationship with the CVB and we have this money, can earmark it for some of these things possibly. And yeah, that'd be great. Did anyone else have some idea, suggestion there? I know this is kind of last minute, but I'm not letting you speak or say something, or staff. Anybody want to add some idea they were thinking of?
The only thing I would add, if I could, is
Yeah.
that with the hotel motel tax revenue now coming in, and the council just allocated 25% of that revenue to the Corville or the Convention Visitors Bureau. But there's still a quarter of that tax money that is to be used for the promotion of tourism and those sorts of activities. So you're going to have a budget to do some things that frankly you just haven't had in the past, because that money's kind of new to the city and to the council. And there's a specific purpose that would include the kinds of things that Tim, that you're all talking about here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so great. We'll keep moving on here. And e-government, Lisa, you sent around a nice report, and did you want to, anybody have any questions, or Lisa, you want to make some comments on
I
that?
just wanted to point out the farmer's market has a tent now, so you can sit in the shade. You can-
Roy's
No.
shaking his head no.
Why are you shaking your head?
When the owner took that down one night, I offered to help and he said, no, go ahead and leave. He would take care of it. And he took it apart to a point that he wasn't able to put it back together. So it has not been there for the last 2, perhaps 3 weeks.
I know. I wasn't going to say, but.
Okay, never mind. And I will move on. Well,
Thanks.
you can still come to the farmer's market. I encourage people to come. You can visit with your neighbors, and the vendors are still fun, even if the tent is a bust. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, maybe this could be an announcement, is that residents, homeowners in University Heights are eligible to apply for the Johnson County Soil Health Program, which will do deep tine aeration of your lawn, apply compost. It is something you have to be pre-approved. You have to use a contractor from their list, but it is a cost share of 50% up to $2,000. So if people are interested, our website has a little bit of information plus links to Johnson County's website, because it is a Johnson County program.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for listing that. Are there any announcements tonight? The next meeting is August 9th. And apparently we're going to get more word about the National Night Out August 2nd. And so thanks, Troy, for taking care of that. And anything else I'm forgetting, Mike?
I don't believe so.
Ooh, that's the first. Okay, is there any objection to adjournment? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned by unanimous consent. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Good night.
See ya.